I love Mondays with Mike Heller.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed bunker in the Badger State, this is I Love Mondays with Mike Heller. Powered by determination and a little bit of duct tape. Here's your host, Mike Heller.
So here we go, and I love Mondays. Man, do I love this Monday. This is such a good Monday in so many different ways. We're going to talk about this crew right here, Wisconsin hockey. We're going to talk about the Brewers. Kari and I went over with a couple of friends, Manly and Kim, sat with them for most of the game yesterday, had a little brunch prior to. Thought it was going to end up being a throwaway game, down 4-0 in the first before you even get an out, down 7-2 later, down 4 runs going to the 8th inning. You're thinking, well, this one is probably not going to happen. And then it did. And baseball delivers that way. Then we're driving home, listening to the UConn Duke game. I had a rooting interest. I'll explain in a minute why it didn't make me happy at the end. But again, college basketball in that moment after a blowout in game 1, game 2 was one of the great finishes of all time. You know, we do this thing on Mondays where people every day of the week, somebody's going to jump in here. James says, good morning, Mike. Good morning, James. Mulcahy gives Monday woo. Now, I don't know if that is a wrestling woo or just a woo, but hey, woo to you as well. This is so cool. There are so many great things to go to on this Monday. It's part of the reason why I love Mondays. The reason the show got its name is that Mondays are just filled, and we're going to fill it with a couple of guests today. Brian Posick's going to join us in about 12 minutes or so. He'll jump out of the gate with us as Wisconsin men's hockey is going to the Frozen Four. And that wasn't going to happen with 5 minutes left in the third period Saturday in Worcester, Mass. either. You're down 2 goals with 5 minutes left. Now, 2-goal lead is a very unsafe lead in hockey. Anybody that's been around the game will tell you it is the most interesting or scary lead to have. But if you trail by 2 and you score, all bets are off. And Wisconsin scored twice, 24 seconds apart, and then wins it, or 34 seconds apart, and then wins it 24 seconds into overtime. Brian Posick will join us at 10:15. Brian Butch is going to talk about the finish of UConn and Duke, but also what we have in the Final Four coming up next weekend in Indianapolis. A pair of number ones, a 2 and a 3. It looked like it was going to be 3 number ones and a 3, but Duke couldn't finish, and that has been a little bit of the monkey on their back, is that they've had big leads this year and not able to hold them, and they messed it up yesterday. Let me begin with a quick line. So you hear coaches say all the time, now I'm not probably going to bring this up to Butch because I think he'll take the coach's line on it, but I was listening to Dan Patrick before I started this morning, and coaches and analysts say this all the time. They didn't lose the game on that play. So that's the end of the game when Caden Boozer has his pass deflected and it comes to the forecourt when UConn takes the ball away. You're up 2, Duke. You could hold the ball when you get it forward in the backcourt. There wasn't even going to be a 10-second backcourt violation because that's how much time was left in the game when they inbounded. And you're going to the free throw line to shoot 2 if they foul you. One little note there, the possession arrow belonged to UConn, so you just can't stand there and hold it and take the chance that they're going to call a jump ball. However, when I hear coaches and analysts say you didn't lose the play on that game, I bristle a little bit because you did. Now, they lost the game because they couldn't hold the lead. They lost the game because they turned it over. They lost the game because UConn had 20 points off of turnovers in the game, including the last 3. But yeah, you lost the game on that play. You have a 2-point lead. Your inability to either draw the foul or just get the ball to the front court in an attempt to draw the foul, you win the game. You did lose the game on that play. Coaches and analysts will say you didn't lose the game because of that play. Well, you kind of did. I mean, I don't understand. I do understand the logic. There were a lot of things that happened to get you to that moment. It was like when Romeo Doubs fumbles the onside kick in Chicago. That didn't cost them the game. Well, hell yes, it did. A lot of things helped to get them to the point to cost them the game. But Brandon Bostic not catching the onside kick lost them the game. Romeo Doubs not catching the onside kick lost them the game. When the game hangs in the balance and a player makes the mistake that turns the ball over, gives the ball to the other team, and they score the winning points, yeah, lots of things led to it. But that play, the turnover by Boozer, cost them the game. And then, I mean, the shot from Braden Mullins wins the game. Now, we don't say that Braden Mullins' shot didn't win the game. Lots of things won them the game. No, we say that Braden Mullins' shot won the game for UConn. He hit the game-winning shot. Well, Duke had the game-losing turnover. Yes, it cost them the game the same way Mullins' shot won them the game. Just a little pet peeve sometimes I have when I hear, well, that play didn't cost them the game. Yeah, yes, it did. So Mulcahy says more sarcastic than anything. Well, appreciate the clarification. And then we get this from Mike 21. Good morning from up in God's country. Now, Mike, you're going to have to tell me where God's country is because my first job out of college was in Rhinelander. And I've been told over and over again that is God's country. You know, it is God's country if you have some money and you hunt or fish. I had no money and I didn't hunt or fish, so it looked beautiful, but I was an observer, not a partaker, because you got to have a little scratch in order to play that. Mike's in Merrill. Merrill, the home of Dan Byer. Merrill is the home of Dan Byer, Fox Sports Radio's Dan Byer, who I worked with early on in his career, very early in his career, middle of my career. Welcome in. I can't wait to get started. There are so many things to get to. What a great finish yesterday in Milwaukee in a game that they had lost. And Christian Yelich hit a game-winning homer. Well, that homer didn't win them the game. Well, yeah, it did. A lot of things led to that moment, but that's the game-winning home run. And Sir Anthony Dominguez, the pitcher on the other side, he gave up the game-winning home run. Oh, that pitch didn't lose in the game. Well, yeah, it did. I mean, a lot of things helped to get them to that point. I'll stop. I'll stop doing that. Mike says, good friend of mine, plus his mother, Janet, talking about Dan Byer. So, yeah, so Dan, he worked with us at, I think at that point, it was probably Clear Channel. It might have been early iteration of iHeart. But, yeah, I did shows with Dan there. And I've been many times had him as a guest, or a couple of times he had me as a guest on his Fox Sports Radio work. All right. So Brewers, Badgers. I got in a Twitter fight. I think that's always news. With a couple of knuckleheads over the weekend. And knuckleheads, I don't know them. I mean, I kind of get an idea. I should probably grab my papers. So in order to do a quick little 12-minute video on Saturday, I wanted to make sure that I covered my bases on what I was talking about and who I was talking to. So there were a couple of folks that I was reacting to on Twitter or with on Twitter. Christian Yelich is one of them. He doesn't follow me, but Morgan O'Flaherty does. And I had said on Friday on the Tiger Woods stuff that I said my tweet was, and maybe I could have worded it better. I said, without commentary, Tiger Woods should just get a full-time driver, ? And O'Flaherty tweeted back at me, Tiger Woods has more talent in his left pinky nail than you have in your entire body. Of which then Lubke got in and said, claiming that Tiger should get a driver implies he's clearly not strong enough or capable of driving himself. Yeah, true. Under the influence, not of alcohol, but of something, he gets charged with a DUI on this. It's his third incident. There's a track record here. Lubke went on to say, for whatever reason, people like Mike are probably jumping to conclusions on this story. All the evidence has not come out. So he was defending Morgan, who said the Tiger has more talent in his left pinky than I have in my entire body. I don't think that was that debate. I'm not debating talent. I'm debating the decision to get behind the wheel of a car. You know, the deal there is that Tiger hurt himself when he did that in Los Angeles in 2021. And then here, he certainly could have hurt others, driving at a high rate of speed, trying to pass a truck pulling a trailer and clipped the edge of it and flipped over in a lane that could have had oncoming traffic. It didn't. Tiger walked away. No alcohol in his system, but showed signs of impairment and was, taken into custody and charged with DUI. I love Tiger Woods and I love what he does for the sport. I love what he brings to the table, but that's another in a series of mistakes that you can see that he needs some help. And that was my point, is getting a driver is the right thing to do. So there was that over the weekend too. Man, there were plenty of things going on. And so much fun to be had at American Family Field for those who were there. It was fantastic. And baseball lends itself to moments like that because there's no clock. You're not going to run out of time. You run out of outs. And they did a great job yesterday in continuing to force the issue against a White Sox pitching staff that was battered over the weekend. And in fact, the Brewers on now the year, obviously opening 3-0. Keep this in mind, a year ago, they were 0-3 and outscored 36-14 by the Yankees in the opening series in the Bronx, where the Yankees hit 15 home runs. The Brewers have outscored the White Sox in that 3-game series 29-10 and are 3-0 in the division. And if you keep track of these things, they lead the last place Chicago Cubs by 2 full games. Brewers home tonight with Tampa. Stars of the weekend, Yelich, Terang, Ortiz, so many, too many to name, but I'm going to get into hockey here in a moment. Let me thank our sponsors before I bring in my first guest today, Brian Posick, who agreed to do this on short notice, which is a me issue, not a him issue, because it should have been scheduled to begin with because of what that was. I Love Mondays presented by M3 Insurance. M3, leveraging digital product and program solutions to protect and serve clients across the country. We equip you with tools and guidance for confidently navigating insurance and risk management decisions. And I say this every time I talk about our sponsors. They've had enough confidence and faith in what we do on this podcast to be a sponsor. And I hope that you that are listening would reward that and reward our sponsors with your business when possible. So if you're involved in that with your company, in securing insurance or benefit packages for your employees, to please visit M3 Insurance. That's M3INS.com. I ask the same with our partnership with Neuroscience Group. In sports, you trust the right team for your health. It's no different. Neuroscience Group brings together specialists in neurology, spine, and pain management, working together to get you back at full strength. Go to neurosciencegroup.com. So if you're having issues that you need addressed, whether it's back or brain health issues, neurosciencegroup.com is the site you go to. I'm going to give you numbers as we go through the day on the lines for games coming up, including the basketball Final Four, even the Brewers tonight at home against the Tampa Bay Rays. And in order to take advantage of that, go to Potawatomi Sportsbook and Casino. You can bet above the rest. Pick your game from slots, poker, best sportsbook anywhere, and more. Enjoy restaurants, bars, and luxurious hotel just steps from the action, and a shuttle going to and from Brewers games. Learn more at Potawatomi.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino. And all of our injury updates, unfortunately, there aren't many going on right now. All of our injury updates, including mine, are presented by Habish and Rotier, 13 locations to ensure you get a quality life and impact from your injury. And Habish is personally committed to your recovery. All right, so we welcome you back in to the program. Brian Posick has a seat at his chair. We add him to the mix here and bring Brian Posick into the show. How's your voice, by the way? Have you recovered? Because Aren't many things more amazing than what you got in the final 5 minutes and then the first 25 seconds of overtime Saturday in Worcester?
Yeah, the voice is fine. I was nervous that it might go to double or triple overtime like the regional final in Green Bay in 06 against Cornell, and we were hemmed in to our broadcast table. And I remember in 06 working with Rob Andringa, and after the second overtime, I was like, you have to go on the air by yourself here for a little while, because I had to go to the bathroom. It's funny. And I'll share this story. I was going to share it on the air on Saturday in Worcester if we had gone that far, but during that game against Cornell 20 years ago, which is remarkable, I told him I got to go to the bathroom. So I was nervous that he had to be on the air by himself. Yeah. But he always could talk. He could talk with a wall, so it didn't really matter. But I remember we were kind of stuck in this media area, and the rest center was packed pretty good. And I ran out to the concourse, and they sold beer during that game up in Green Bay. Right. And so Badger fans had their fill. And so when I went out to the concourse to go to the bathroom, the line was like TSA at LaGuardia, right? Sure. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never gonna make it. I mean, not just getting back on air. I'm not gonna be able to get. I'm gonna go to the bathroom in a concourse hallway, Uh-huh. And this guy turns around and he looks at me. He's like, God, this is the greatest game. This is fantastic. I hope we win. And then he's like, are you the radio guy? I said, yeah. And he said, you must be having a blast. I said, I just have to go to the bathroom so bad. And the guy's like, he starts yelling at everybody in front of him. Hey, it's the radio guy. Get out of the way. He has to go to the bathroom. And all of a sudden it was like the parting of the Red Sea. Yeah. And there was a urinal straight in front of me. And I just went to, oh my gosh, it was like one of the craziest things that ever happened. So thankfully I didn't have to do this on Saturday, because Ben Dexheimer scores 24 seconds at OT, and it was great. So it worked out quite well. That
call 20 years ago finishes with a great call by you and an "Oh Baby" from Rob Andringa that I will never forget. His "Oh Baby"
for sure. And that call, actually, him yelling that is still part of our pregame opening billboard. Yeah. It's still included, and it will be forever and ever,
for always.
Yeah.
Take me inside the thought process. As that game ticks inside of 5 minutes in the third period, Wisconsin had scored first in the game, but then they're down 3-1 in that. And we tick inside of 5 minutes. Hockey's never over, and that 2-goal lead usually is an unsafe lead. Yeah. But inside of 5, were there some questions or doubts creeping in, as Michigan State's got a Hobie Baker candidate in the net? Your thoughts as we ticked late in that game?
Well, a couple of things had come up, and Paul and I had mentioned it too. A handful of times during the season, Wisconsin had erased a 2-goal deficit to win a hockey game. In fact, had done it in East Lansing against Michigan State. But that was 2-0 after one period of play.
Yeah, different.
Right? And then they score 4 in the second and win that game, hang on, and win 5-4. So, yeah, it's ticking down. It's somewhat similar, Mike, to the Thursday regional semifinal against Dartmouth, too. It's a 1-1 game with 10 minutes left, and the best team on the ice was wearing cardinal and white, and they kept hitting goalposts or missing wide-open layups, right? And then, so it's like, you got to get one here soon, and Jack Horbach scores, and then they score 3 more, and the game is over. But on Saturday, you're like, okay, you're in a precarious spot. When Michigan State went up 3-1, you may recall they had a 2-on-1 coming into the Wisconsin zone. Yeah. And Tommy Monisto, who's one of the fastest guys in college hockey, is coming flying down the right wing, and he can shoot the puck. And he snapped one off, trying to go blocker side on Hauser. He's moving to his left, so he shoots back right. And Hauser made this unbelievable lunging right arm blocker save, and to keep it 3-1 at that time. And Capo even said on the air, keep that save in mind if we come back and win this thing. And so then, all right, so Wisconsin's trying to find a way anyway. Well, they started filling the offensive zone, and the defensemen were pinching and getting to the net. And Michigan State was in scramble mode, and Wisconsin was too. And so the structure, while there is a structure to this, and they have plans, how you try to attack when you're down a goal or what have you. What do we need to do? But when Osborne scored that first one to make it 3-2, you're like, okay. And you could see that Michigan State was on its heels. And then 34 seconds later, it was the same type of a reaction, the same type of planning, the same that they just kept attacking and throwing the puck at the net. And eventually Fitzgerald had a grade A chance, and Augustine made a remarkable save, but he kicked the puck right to Gavin Morrissey's stick. He puts it in. It's 3-3, and you're like, all right. And then Wisconsin had a couple of other chances where they could have won that game in regulation, including another shot by Osborne that hit Augustine's forehead and sailed out of play. So it's 3-3. It's like, okay, you take a breath. Both teams need to take a breath, but you knew Wisconsin had the momentum there. And this game is funny because you think of Thursday again, you hit 4 goalposts. You could have scored 12, but finally you find a way to break the seal. Why not just put the puck on the net? Keep putting the puck on the net. Yeah. And that's what Dexheimer did. And it hit traffic. It hit Colin Ralph, their big defenseman, and goes in, and then all hell broke loose. It was one of the most exciting moments of my career calling Wisconsin hockey, to have a rally from 2 goals down in the final 5 minutes and then win it to overtime to go to the Frozen Four. There haven't been many better than that.
You know what I loved about the 2 goals that came 34 seconds apart, and you can describe this better than I can, but they're both effort buzzing the net goals. They're not, tic-tac-toe goals. They're extra effort and being aware and right in the spot. And you can't, you do teach that. You teach effort. But those 2 goals were glorious because it's just pure hockey in those moments.
Right. And it's will, it's determination. Again, Michigan State was in a bit of scramble mode, and they didn't have enough players below the dots to man up with the players that Wisconsin had. Osborne's goal, he was in the right spot at the right time, and nobody was on him. Even in Morrissey's goal too, what happens oftentimes too in a situation like that, the defenders, while they're taught to man up, to take a man, to block out, right? It's also human nature to keep your eye on the puck. Where's the puck going? Well, then you're trying to react to a movement of the puck. Yeah. And if it takes a bad bounce in Michigan State's case and goes to somebody else's stick and they're uncovered, then you're screwed, for a lack of a better term. And that's exactly what happened. They crashed. The defensemen were down. They had somebody kind of a safety always, because you don't want to break a breakaway. Right. Granted, Hauser was still in goal. There was no empty net situation at that time. But yeah, it was they just powered their way to the net and found ways to find the back of the net. And that was, it was an extraordinary determination on all the guys that were on the ice at that time.
Post, can you clear something up for our hockey novices that are listening and maybe watched that game? You talked about that Hauser save. Yeah. As the puck is underneath his leg pad and there's a crash into him, if he slides back into the goal and that puck is under his leg, I mean, it would be a goal, correct?
It would be a goal, correct. Yeah, that was the Riker Lee breakaway shortly after Wisconsin had killed off a power play. And Riker Lee played with the Madison Capitals, and a freshman that's got 15, 16 goals, and had scored, I think, 6 points or 5 points against the Badgers in 4 previous games. And Hauser, he deked him to his right, and Daniel went with him, and then he came back to tuck the puck in, and Hauser responded beautifully and got his left skate to the post, and then his right pad was down too, and he tries to jam it in, and he tried to keep his legs as strongly as possible along that post and on the ice. And I mentioned on the air too, Lee steps up and raises his stick and trying to bait the referee into calling it a goal on the ice, which he did not do. Now, had he called it a goal on the ice,
good point.
Because we could not see the puck from the overhead view, all the replays you saw too. Right. So the fact that the referee did not call that a goal may have saved Wisconsin from being at a deficit at that point, or a bigger deficit at that point. So Hauser, there were a couple that went in early. One went off the stick of Dexheimer. You can't stop that. The puck flutters over his glove. But Daniel was fantastic, and he's going to need to be coming up in the Frozen Four because this field is loaded.
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a moment. Let me also get one other moment cleared up. The Luke Osborne, the goal that made it 3-2. That puck goes in the net just moments before their goaltender ended up kicking that post off of its moorings.
Yeah.
Had that happened just a fraction of a second earlier, it's just a no goal because it wouldn't have been deemed intentional.
It could have been. It could have been. The referees could have determined that. Wisconsin still had its timeout at that time too, so could have challenged.
Sure.
But yeah, it's happened before. If it's deemed that the goaltender intentionally kicked the cage off, that plane of the goal is still in play. It's like trying to break the goal line for a touchdown in football, right? It's the same type of thing. So then the referees would have to determine, probably using overhead, whether or not the puck goes in the back of the net. So they could have determined that, or they could have just said it came off on its own. It's just hockey play, that type of thing. So, as Mike Hastings mentioned afterwards, he believes in hockey gods. And the hockey gods were certainly in Wisconsin's favor on Saturday. And, another thing that we should all keep in mind, and I'd rather watch your team, our team, whoever team, play the other team at its best. And Michigan State wasn't. They lost one of their Hobie finalists in Charlie Stramel to an injury in the first period. He's their top line center. Adam Nightingale, their head coach, told me the week before that he thought that Charlie should win the Hobie as the best player in college hockey. And one of his teammates shoots a puck that hits his ankle and breaks it. And so he didn't return after the first period. So they're minus their top line center. They had only suited up 12 forwards. So they're double shifting guys and putting them between.
It matters.
It totally matters. Because the line that Stramel's on with Daniel Russell, a senior who had scored 4 goals against Wisconsin in 4 games this season, and Porter Martone, who was the 6th overall pick in the NHL draft by Philadelphia last year and had 3 goals and 6 points against Wisconsin this season. All of a sudden, you take the pivot man away from their top line. That definitely made a difference, no question.
So I've been asked this a bunch of times because I travel with Badger football about flights home. And I usually can't tell from walking on the plane and being on the back of the plane on a full plane whether they've won or lost. So let me ask you what that trip was like coming home. Was that a team that was, sleeping on the flight home? Or, what was – give us a sense of that part.
Well, so after the game, there's a giant celebration, what have you. And once I signed off the air, I went downstairs, and Michigan State was still there. They're still walking out. Had a chance to see Charlie Stramel and wished him the best. He's a first-round draft pick from Minnesota, so he's going to play in the NHL. And you felt bad for him. But come to find out that part of NCAA protocol is that the losing team is allowed to fly out before the winning team is.
They get to leave first.
So the odd thing is the Badgers are all excited and they're saying, hey, we need to load up our buses. And there were 2 of them. There was a band bus and then the team bus. And so Wisconsin's buses left for the airport first. Michigan State's buses didn't show up for another 45 minutes to an hour. So we were in a parking lot outside the Worcester airport for almost 2 hours before we even got on the tarmac.
Yeah.
And then because of the 2 buses and the amount of equipment for the hockey team and the band, we're all flying together. They had to load up the belly of the plane while everybody's going through TSA, which was 75, 80 people. So we were projected to leave Worcester around 12:30 Eastern time and get home. And we didn't get out of there until 1:30 or 1:45. We didn't get home. I wasn't in bed until 3:30 in the morning. And so, and I know it was the same way for all, well, I suppose some of the other guys were up for a little while and maybe pulled an all-nighter, I don't know. But on the plane, sure, there was excitement initially, but then it got pretty quiet because it was late. And they exhausted every ounce of energy, not only to win that hockey game, but to celebrate that they won that hockey game, right? So just all of a sudden, just that rush of emotion and adrenaline, eventually it does kind of seep through your body and it comes to comes to a close.
Yeah.
And I got up at one point in the plane, and I'm looking around, and there were no phones on or no laptops. Most of them had, they were snoring or sleeping, whatever.
Sure.
So it was relatively quiet, but it was also 2:30 in the morning. So I know those guys can stay out a lot later than I can at this point. Yeah, but they were gassed.
I'm pretty sure the KK was closed before they left the Kohl Center.
Yeah, but it was open early for brunch, I'm pretty sure.
It was. So let me just do this on the way out. We get essentially a WCHA Frozen Four with Wisconsin, North Dakota, and Denver all part of it, and then Michigan is the fourth team in.
And they almost and they were up 4-1 on Minnesota Duluth, and Duluth rallies and makes it 4-3. That was the final. Otherwise, it would have been an all-time WCHA Frozen Four. One of the cool things about this one is this Frozen Four actually features the four teams that are left have won the most national championships all time.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, North Dakota's won 10, Michigan's won 9, Denver's won 10, Michigan's won 9, North Dakota's won 8, and Wisconsin's won 6. So the teams that have the most national championships ever in men's college hockey are going to be at the Frozen Four in Las Vegas.
They're all there. And I wondered in your view of this, and I'll just leave you with this, because we'll probably chat about this one more time before you go to Las Vegas, because it's essentially still a week and a half away.
Right.
Is they ever going to do you like this week and a half break? Do they like it? I guess that's a better question. Coaches and players, or would they rather be going and playing the Frozen Four this weekend?
I'm sure they'd rather play, but it makes sense. I mean, the men's and women's basketball Final Fours are being played this weekend. So why would you want to go head to head with that?
Yep.
So they get their own weekend. And it's been this way for a long time now. So, sure, they would love to, but it allows guys to kind of heal up a little bit, recharge a little bit, enjoy the excitement of it a little bit, and get themselves focused for what's at hand. They'll fly out next Tuesday. They'll be in Vegas. They'll practice on Wednesday, and then they'll play on Thursday. So it seems like it's a long break after what transpired this past weekend. But it's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. So
give me your quick thumbnail on. I don't know what you know about North Dakota yet. We didn't see them during the season. So do you have a quick idea of this matchup and what's at stake?
Yeah, they're a top. They've been a top 5 team virtually all season long. They've got a balanced scoring attack. They've got one kid that's got 20 plus goals in Dylan James, and a handful of others that have double digits. Their goaltender Jan Spunar has been fantastic. He's got a goals against of about 1.85. So they don't give up a lot. I wouldn't say that they're the star-studded North Dakota teams that we've seen in the past with a Jonathan Taves or a Ryan Duncan or guys like that. But they're a hard-working lot, and they're going to make you fight for every inch of the ice possible. And then you look on the other side with Denver and Michigan. Michigan's the top-ranked team in the country, the highest-scoring team in the country. They have the Big Ten Player of the Year and maybe the Hobie Baker Award winner in senior TJ Hughes. Michael Hayes is a first-round NHL draft pick, and their goaltender, Ivan Kovic, a freshman, has been brilliant. He was the second-best goaltender in the Big Ten this season behind Trey Augustine. And then Denver's riding a 10-11 game winning streak. They have a freshman goaltender in the name of Johnny Hicks, who hasn't lost a game this season, and he's got a save percentage that's .940, and he's giving up less than a goal per game. So this ain't going to be. It's not going to be easy. These are right now the 4 best teams in the country, obviously, and I'm anxious to see how all 3 games play out.
So excited for you to be going back and for the program to be going back. It's been a little bit, but it is fantastic.
Yeah, and think about it too. There've been some great comebacks in Wisconsin hockey history. The one that I can remember most was in 2003-04 when the Badgers were hosting top-ranked North Dakota. They're down 3-0 and rally and win in overtime on a Robbie Earl goal where he's diving at the net. That was one of the greatest comebacks I had seen. But with what was on the line, what we saw on Saturday, down 2 goals with under 5 minutes to play, and then to win it in overtime, that will go down in Wisconsin lore. It was a blast. It was
very cool. Thanks for doing this. We'll chat again, I hope, before you head out to Vegas or once you're there. One way or the other, we'll catch up again, and I appreciate it. Congratulations. So much fun to listen to and obviously to watch, but then I listened back after I watched. That was very cool, Brian.
Yeah, I had somebody remark that it sounded like I had sucked on a helium balloon and had a heart attack at the same time. That's about right, I think. Yeah,
sounds great. Yeah,
it was fun.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Brian Posick joining us, and we talk about what's going on with Wisconsin hockey going to the Frozen Four. And oh, by the way, and thank you, Mortgage 101 podcast says great show today. It's my buddy. Appreciate that. Listen, and hey, Mortgage. Well, I mean, I guess I could call you by your name. Manley, I'm only using one light today. All right, so I'm peel back the curtain here. Does it look a little bit better? Let me know. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. Wisconsin women just won the national championship. Now, the Badger men are going to go to the Frozen Four, and they're 2 wins away from them winning their 7th all-time national championship. The women's hockey, they've won 9. So, I mean, that is really cool. What is out in front of them? I don't know how many people were watching Saturday. And I don't know if you're watching Saturday, if you said with 5 or 6 minutes, well, you wouldn't have said it with 5.5 minutes left. But if you said at the 6-minute mark, yeah, it's just not going to happen. We were at Red and White and had another couple who had joined us. And it seemed like every time I turned to say something to one of them and take my eyes off the TV screen, I missed both goals live, having a conversation. So, but it was so cool. We had the volume up, and and then I listened to Posick's call on the highlights, the highlight package that Wisconsin Hockey put out on their social media. Just fantastic. So amazingly cool to see what they did. A few other notes. Brian Posick's going to join us in a couple of minutes. So I want to cover a couple of other notes. Brewers are 3-0. Cardinals and Reds 2-1 each. Pittsburgh and the Chicago Cubs, appropriately so, the Cubs are in last place. They are 1-2, 2 games back of the Brewers. I just remind our watchers and listeners that a year ago at the same benchmark of the season, 3 games in, the Brewers were 0-3 a year ago and outscored by the Yankees 36-14. And that was the day before they got drubbed at home by Kansas City. The Royals came in. The Brewers were 0-4 a year ago and won 97 games. So they're 3-0 out of the gate, and it was a blast, a fun weekend, and just a scintillating finish on Sunday. Enjoy the moments. It's not specific to what this season is going to be like, but I did love how they went about so many things, forcing long at bats, extending at bats, doing all those things, getting great bullpen work yesterday after Brandon Sproat gave up all the runs in the first 3 innings. He gave up a grand slam before there was nobody out in the first. Couple of walks, a little blue pit to center, and then a grand slam. And then he gives up another homer in the second and another homer in the third. You're down big in this game, down 7-2 after 3 innings, and you chipped away a little bit and then did all the work in the 8th inning. And they went to their closer in Sir Anthony Dominguez. The Brewers will go and start a series tonight. It's a 6-game homestand to open. They'll face Nick Martinez. Tampa Bay Rays are 1-2 on the season. Kyle Harrison makes his Brewers debut tonight on the mound for Milwaukee in that one. So, all right, let me bring in another Brian. Today's a Brian day, so we add in Brian Butch to the program. Butchie is a man in high demand, not only with Butchie's Den, which you can see on YouTube, but also, he's on national shows prior to this. I mean, you're pretty popular, Brian Butch. Am I wrong?
No. I'm just popular during college basketball season. That's all.
Well, I mean, to me, you're popular all the time, but college basketball never fails to deliver. Let me bring you into something that kind of bugs me that I talked about off the top of the show today. And I think you'll be on the other side of this. I don't think you and I will be in agreement on this, but I was listening to a little bit of Dan Patrick before I came down to get ready for my podcast today. And Dan's talking about the finish of the UConn Duke game yesterday. And he made a strong point. Coaches and analysts do this all the time. Duke didn't lose the game on that last turnover. And I disagree. They did lose the game on the last turnover. I know they lost the game on lots of different things that got them into that position. But to me, it's like Bostic fumbling the onside kick or Romeo Doubs fumbling the onside kick in 2014 and then this last year for the Packers. If you catch it, you win. If Duke doesn't throw the ball away on a turnover, because the turnover happens with about 3 seconds left, 3.5, 4 seconds left. If he holds it and draws a foul, they win the game. If they don't try to advance the ball out of the backcourt, which they didn't have to. So am I just simply wrong that when bristle a little bit when they didn't lose the game on that play? Because I think they did.
No, you're wrong. Because here's the thing. This is why, Mike. If you keep it as a 17-point game, if you don't let the lead vanish, now all of a sudden you're not in that situation. Yeah. So when we talk about if you're wrong, yes, because it's all the things leading up to it. If that is inbounded with a 5-point lead, there's no pressure to throw it. Right. And pressure becomes real. And that's when the mistakes happen. Mistakes don't happen that often when there's not pressure. The reason you see the comebacks is because they understand the pressure is real and you get nervous. And now everything that you've trained and everything that you've done changes. And that's what we've seen. And that's what you saw in the end of that game. UConn was making shots. They were coming back. They had all the momentum. And that's where you struggled. That's the reality of it. And I think that's the biggest thing that I look at with it. So, it wasn't by no means lost in that play. Was that one of many plays that lost them the game? Yes.
Yeah. We don't have to agree on that. And I actually agree with you, but Braylon Mullins hit the game-winning shot, right?
Yeah.
So wasn't that the game-losing possession then for Duke?
Well, not really.
Okay.
Because you look at it, then if you want to go down that road, Mike, if you want to go down that road, then the 0.4 toss was the losing play. Because they could have caught the ball.
Okay. All right.
I mean, if you want to go down that road, right? Like they had the last possession, Duke didn't execute with 0.4 left. Like, so if you want to,
I knew I wasn't going to convince you. I knew you'd be on the other side of it. This is the world you live in. This is the world I watch.
Yeah, it's for me. It is. It's the sequence of everything that pushes that to where it's got to be pushed. It just is the reality of it. And I feel bad for Boozer to be in that place, right? Like the younger,
he'll carry it forever.
Yeah. Well, he'll carry it forever. And you look at what his brother did as far as just carrying that team. And but it's the reality of sports. It's why we love it. Why we hate them.
So we get essentially, really close to a chalk 5. It would have been 3 1s and a 3 if Duke would have won that game. It's 2 1s, a 2, and a 3. So I'm going to go bigger picture with you just for a moment. Is this just a wave right now that we're seeing chalk in the NCAA tournament, or is this a result of dollars and transfer portals and nil?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think transfers and, Cinderella. So let's break that question in a little bit because how many Cinderellas have we had make the Final Four in general? Like, you can have George Mason, you can throw in there, but
UIC, right? Chicago.
So there's, occasionally, but it's not like every year we were getting true Cinderellas in the Final Four. So the Final Four is different than if we still have Cinderellas. I think Cinderellas are dying. If you look at the transfer portal right now, you're not seeing a ton of high majors. You did see Ohio State's big man. I'm blanking now. Help me. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, you're not going to.
I was going to say Eddie Royal. No, but Royal jumped in the portal. And, so you're seeing that. But the majority of them are mid-majors right now that you're seeing names jump in the portal. So I think that's part of it. Overall, I think the big picture here is you will, Cinderellas are going to be less and less. It's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
Will you see 1 seeds? Like I said, I thought there was 3 teams and really 2 teams that were elite all year long, Arizona and Michigan. I thought the reason that Duke got the overall 1 seed is because they played Michigan in February.
Yeah.
It was recency bias. They had they beat them. I really would have loved to see Arizona, Michigan on opposite sides. I would have loved to see that game on Monday, because I think that's the championship game. I think those 2 teams have been elite all season long. The rest of them, I felt we could have had 16 teams that could have came out of that and filled the other 2 spots. But overall, I think in general, college basketball is in a great place. You're going to have great games like this. We've seen it. It's the most watched that it's been. It will continue to be the most watched. The product is going to be great. Are you going to lose some of the mid-majors? Yeah, but guess what?
Yeah.
For everybody out there, those games in November and December, nobody's watched them anyways.
Yeah.
So don't tell me you care about mid-majors, because if you cared about mid-majors, the Kohl Center would be sold out on November 15th against SIUE. And it's not, just like it's not sold out everywhere else in America.
Yeah. Yeah. It's once we get to Selection Sunday, we adopt teams that we hadn't heard of or seen play as potential Cinderellas. And, High Point was that they were a couple of made shots in the final 2 minutes against Arkansas, making it to the second weekend, and they would have been everybody's darling, because that's the way the tournament has always functioned. Let me ask you about the potential of a Big Ten championship for the NCAA championship. How does Illinois stack up against UConn? We'll start with that, because I think Illinois is playing really good basketball. They did get a bit of a luck of the draw because Iowa made its way through and Illinois was simply better. And I think Iowa ran out of gas and some luck. Illinois looks really good, and they're going to get a UConn team that is filled with confidence right now.
Yeah, but I also think Illinois is filled with confidence, right? Like, I mean, if you look at a team that's filled with confidence, it's Illinois. And that goes back to the bigger conversation of, well, what is the Big Ten tournament? Is it worth it, right? Wisconsin beats Illinois in a really good game, and they get some rest, and now look at they're in the Final Four. So, I mean, the Big Ten tournament is fine. I will counter that also and say, though, that Michigan and Purdue both made it to Sunday. Yeah. And both teams made it to the Elite Eight as well. So I think it's a chance to play. I think sometimes that gets over talked about. But Illinois and what they're able to do, they're guarding. That's the difference. And if they guard like that, like they did against Iowa, now all of a sudden, they're going to be able to guard like that against UConn. I like Illinois there. I think they're matchup driven offensively. What do they do defensively? How do they get into UConn? Do they take them out of their stuff? I think Illinois has the bigs to handle Terrace Reed. That's, I think, a big part of that as well. But it's also what the Illinois bigs do by pulling him out of the paint. Yeah. And now all of a sudden creating different opportunities.
Yep. And I was so happy for Brad Underwood. I mean, you want to talk about a coach's life and where he's been and how long it took him to get a D1 job, and now him being in this. And he said he's dreamt about it his entire life, and it's better than the dream. It's really cool to watch his emotion in getting to a Final Four.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brad's great. I've had a chance to cover a couple of their games throughout my years doing the Big Ten Network and stuff like that. He's great. It's he gets it. He understands. He's also, they've been financially funded a little bit as well, which helps. Like they all need to do that. Yeah. He's changed that. So the financially funded part of it, that's just so everyone kind of out there. To me, why I love what Brad's done is he's adapted. He's changed. Yeah. Defensively, he's adapted in how he wants to do that. Offensively, he's changed as far as what he's comfortable with to make sure of that. They've gone from more of that motion to more of isolation as far as, isolation matchup based, which is a big part of it. But being able to adapt is huge in this day and age.
And they've also gone Eastern European, and that's really
that's part of the adapting. Exactly.
Yeah, no kidding. Fantastic.
Well, and if we're just being honest, the Eastern European, the reason that we're seeing so many people go do that is because it's very simple. They have agents. They say what the price is. You pay the price. Yeah. American agents right now, they're not doing that. They're giving you a price. They're then shopping their players. Yeah. And then they're coming back and giving you a different price. Right. The European players, it's not that. And that's why it's becoming more people are wanting to deal with that. And then that's where I say shame on the American agents.
Yeah. But let me finish with two thoughts. One, on that other semifinal matchup that you talk about being essentially the championship game, Arizona, Michigan. I mean, get your popcorn. What a fantastic matchup. Arizona doesn't want to, nor do they, shoot the three. They live in mid-range and at the rim, and they play it their way. Michigan is just super talented, really well coached. They like to play in the open court. Give me a sense of what you see in that semifinal Saturday.
Well, it's an elite game. I mean, there's two ways to beat Michigan. Well, three ways, right? First, you got to turn them over. Second, you got to make some threes. So Arizona doesn't do that.
Yeah.
But then the third point is Elliot Cadeau. And is he able to get into foul trouble? And I think to me, that's the thing that I look at with this group more than anything is overall, how is this group going to make sure they handle some adversity? Because Arizona is going to come at you, and Arizona has bigs to be able to handle Michigan's bigs. So what are the guards going to do? I think this is a guard, and you look at Jaden Bradley, he's been elite. There's a lot of guys as far as guard play for Arizona that can match Michigan's guards. It's going to be an elite game. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to live up to the expectations. I think Michigan finds a way to squeak that thing out. I've said it since January. Michigan's the best team in the Big Ten. It wasn't even close. And then as I said it before, I say it again, like Michigan was the best team in all the land, the whole country. I've been on that since January, and it hasn't changed yet.
Okay. Final thought. And I know this is a big picture question in a short window, but where is Wisconsin and what does the next 30 days in which their roster will solidify because of transfers out, transfers in? What does this upcoming offseason look like for Greg Gard and Wisconsin basketball?
Well, it's it's a rebuild, and that's where it's at every single year. It's first of all, try to get your guys to be locked in, get them to sign contracts. Retention is a big deal, has to happen. But players are evaluating as well. Whether it's John Blackwell, Nolan Winter, they've got to see what their numbers are, and Wisconsin needs to see if those numbers fit. You want to have some retention to understand that. And then it's about building a roster again that, again, a lot of people where you look at this is where they're going to be shopping from. They're going to be shopping from the bargain bin. They've raised more money, but it's more, everyone's raised more money. That's not like if Wisconsin basketball could get more NIL, that would be helpful. There's no question about it. But they also know, hey, we've done our job. We've fundraised as much as we can. This is what we're going to do. This is the cards we're dealt. Now we're going to go play those cards, and we're going to make sure we, put out a good product. And that's exactly what it is. So I'll actually be talking with Greg Steensma today on Butchie's Den, and we'll drop those are questions that I'm going to ask him. So go hit the subscribe button on Butchie's Den as well, because we're going to have some of those conversations about what that is going to look like, what exactly you're looking for as far as the type of players to fill. So we'll get some insight in that as well.
Good stuff. Butchie's Den, YouTube. Go ahead, find it, subscribe to it. Watch it later today. By the way, I'm going to have Greg Gard on this show on Wednesday.
Love it.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Hey, Butchie, you're the best. I appreciate you. Get out of that chair later today and enjoy some of this weather. The kids are on break, right?
And they are on break. They're all over creation. So
all right, we'll go get them.
All right.
All right, Brian. Thank you.
Yep.
Brian Butch joining us on I Love Mondays. We got a few thoughts to finish. Jamie's wants to know baseball-related ABS reviews. Really high level of engagement point for fans. Seems to be another successful new rule implementation. Brewers need to be better with their challenges, though. I think there were challenges available to them earlier in the game. Now I'm watching it in person, so I don't see what those who were watching on TV saw. But I did get some comments back from others saying, there were opportunities to challenge for Jefferson Carroll earlier in the game yesterday. I think they want to be cautious about how they do that. However, I had a little debate with my sister Peggy. She doesn't like it. I love it. I think it's defined. I think it can be hairline. Like there are a couple of misses or makes on strikes and balls that are super edgy. And some people don't like that, and I get it. But it doesn't. I'm not bothered by it. I think baseball has done such a good job in recent years on their rule implementation. They have done better than all of the other sports in how they've changed their rules, making their game better. There's still the human element of the home plate umpire making balls and strike calls throughout the game that aren't challenged, especially early in counts, earlier in the game. But then when it ultimately fully matters, and we haven't seen that bottom of the ninth, runners in scoring position, 2 outs, 3-2 pitch, that's going to happen. And that pitch is going to be challenged. If it's a called strike 3 or a bases loaded walk that wins the game, it's going to be challenged if they have a challenge left. And one of those is going to be turned. And you're going to think, oh, the game just ended. And then we're going to come back and say, no, it didn't. And then guys like Zabin are going to get super pissed off about that moment. And guys like me are going to go, what are you pissed off about? That they got it right? It's always been my argument on replay. Sometimes on replay, they don't get it right. Then I don't have an argument. But when they get it right, you're going to be angry that they got it right? Or are you just angry that your team lost because they got it right? So I like it. I like what baseball has done with it. I think baseball on getting rid of the shift, putting in the pitch clock, changing the bases, which we don't notice much, but it matters. All of those things, I think, have been very good for the game. Now, I could debate until the cows come home on the runner at second in the 10th inning, and there are baseball purists that hate it, and there are baseball purists that love it. I would go on the love it side. I like the runner at second. I don't want to see a 16-inning game on March 28th. I don't think anybody benefits from that. And by the way, if you're in a 16-inning game, 17-inning game on the old rules with no runner at second in March and in April, it's typically because it stayed 3-3 from the 9th through the 16th inning. And maybe there weren't even runners on base. It just turned into a slog. I like it during the regular season, runner at second. I would not want it in the postseason, and that's not even at debate. They're never doing that. All of our other sports that we pay close attention to have different overtime rules in the regular season than they do in the postseason. It doesn't seem to bother a ton of people dramatically that way. So I do like that. I had a couple other notes before we walk out the door on an I Love Monday. Talked about the Brewers and their position. How about the stars of their opening weekend? Christian Yelich was 6 of 10, 5 runs batted in, a 1536 OPS. Bryce Terang is 6 of 14 right now with 3 doubles and an OPS over 1100. Joey Ortiz, dude is ridiculous with the glove. That double play he started on the outfield grass yesterday is amazing. Their up the middle defense is, to me, hard to quantify. Stats do, I suppose. To me, their up the middle defense is the best in all of Major League Baseball. But Joey Ortiz also went 5 for 11 on the opening weekend. I mean, it's just so impressive what it is that they did on the opening weekend. I get the White Sox might stink out loud when it's all said and done. Now, Murph is going to tell you the White Sox will be reckoned with in the AL Central. Maybe he's right on that. It's just a good weekend for the Brewers, but keep in mind a year ago, it was a terrible opening weekend and they won 97 games. So I'm not going to say that this opening weekend being really good hits the other way because you always take wins. That was super dramatic yesterday. And how about Jeff Levering's call? I haven't heard the radio version from Lane Grindle, but Jeff Levering's call on the TV side, brilliant, awesome. That's why he's so good. I can't wait. I'm going to go over to the ballpark today and go upstairs and say hi to Lev and sit in the press box with probably Hunter in there and go say hi to Rosiak and McCalvey and Hogue and whoever else is up there. Bug Mike Vassallo for something. Andrew Grumman. Can't wait to go to the ballpark today. I'm looking forward to that. So I love Mondays. We kind of come to a close. Let me do this. Let me thank our sponsors because without them, I'm not doing it. And when I say that, without them, I'm not doing the show, that's true. That's real. So they've trusted in me enough to jump on board as a sponsorship. I need you to trust in them to do business with our sponsors. Neuroscience Group is one of our sponsors. And if you know them out of the Fox River Valley, you know how valuable they are, especially if you've needed their services. So from diagnosis to recovery, Neuroscience Group brings together neurology, neurosurgery, pain management, and therapy, all under one roof. Advanced care close to home. Go to neurosciencegroup.com. I Love Mondays is presented by M3 Insurance. With M3, you get it all, the personal guidance you need to protect and grow your business, and a team that provides tailored insurance and risk management solutions and unparalleled service. Don't settle for anything less from your insurance broker. Again, please do your business with m3ins.com. That's the website, m3ins.com. Lines as we go into next weekend. All of our lines here brought to you by Potawatomi Sportsbook. Bet above the rest. Illinois is a 1.5 favorite over UConn. Michigan's a 1.5 favorite over Arizona. I'll take the favored team in both and give the 1.5 points in both. All of our lines on this show are presented by Potawatomi Sportsbook. And to our fellow bettors, if you've got the itch, the best place to do that is at Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm talking about the itch to bet on sports. The best place to do it is at Potawatomi Sportsbook and Casino. It's your place to bet above the rest. And our injury updates, and the Brewers did lose Andrew Vaughn for a while over the weekend with a broken hamate bone, I believe is the injury. All of our injury updates, including those of the Brewers and mine, are presented by Habish & Rotier. 13 locations to ensure you get a hometown attorney who understands your life and the impacts of your injury and is personally committed to your recovery. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you to you for listening. Tomorrow on the show, I haven't solidified this, but it is a Superfan Tuesday, and I might bring them both in tomorrow. I might bring in both Treadmill and Courtney. And one other thing, by this time next week, we're going to have a winner on our bracket challenge with our I Love Monday bracket challenge. One of the reasons I was bothered by the finish of UConn Duke yesterday, I never root for Duke, but I don't like UConn. To me, they're as bad as Duke in that regard. Our standings, Mickey is our leader on our I Love Mondays bracket challenge with 96 total points. Lucas is just a couple of spots back. Mickey's got Arizona. Lucas has Michigan. I think one of those two is going to win the bracket challenge based on whoever wins Saturday, Arizona or Michigan. By the way, I think I would have won it because I'd have had the full Final Four intact, and I would have been 1 point out of first place had Duke held on to win. I have 3 of the Final Four teams. I'm in 5th place, but I don't think I can catch the leader because I also have Arizona winning a title. So I don't think I can catch for the championship. However, had Duke won yesterday, I think I'd have won the bracket challenge or had a heck of a shot at winning the bracket challenge. So I was angry at that. Not very happy at the result. That was personal. All right. We're out. Tomorrow, Superfan Tuesday. I'm going to the Brewer game tonight. I'll have some react from that as well. And I appreciate you all being in here on this Monday. I love Mondays. Has there been a better one than this one? I don't think so. So we got that going on. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you for your time here. I pushed the right button, that one. I will talk to you tomorrow. I Love Mondays on a Tuesday. Comes up in less than 24 hours.